All right, fellow Formula One fans, it is time for the first European leg of the 2024 season, and we are headed to Imola for the Emilia-Romagna GP, of course, at the famous Imola circuit. So come ride with me today as we go over the race predictions, race preview, give you my thoughts as to what's going to happen this weekend, and then some storylines to look out for as you're going through the practice sessions and qualifying and into the Grand Prix. So let's go. All right, so Imola, first European race of the 2024 season. Really looking forward to this one. This track has a ton of history. I think it's a beautiful area in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. And yeah, a lot of teams are bringing upgrades. So yeah, let's dive into some of the storylines that we're going to be looking at for this race. So some of the things that we're going to be paying attention to this weekend and seeing what happens is one, can McLaren repeat their performance at Miami? Obviously, Lando had that amazing win, and it was really on pure pace. He had a spectacular race, and Oscar had a great race too, despite what happened in the end. He also didn't have the full upgrade package on the McLaren, so he's going to have that this weekend. So it will be very interesting to see if he can keep pace with Lando now that he has the upgrade package that Lando had in Miami. So I'm expecting McLaren to do really well, and we'll go over the full kind of race predictions later on in this video. But for now, next storyline to me is going to be Ferrari's upgrades. People have been talking about it for the last week and a half. You've seen pictures floating around online. Ferrari did that filming day, and we've all seen the upgrades that Ferrari is bringing to Imola. So the big question is, are they going to work? I've read sources that have said Ferrari says it's going to be up to 0.4 of a gain, which would be incredible. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we'll see. I'm excited to see if Carlos can have another win this season. That would be amazing. And if he gets one in Imola, basically a home track for Ferrari, their factory is only an hour away. That would be pretty amazing as well. So the big thing with the Ferrari upgrade is it's going to impact their tire life or their tire wear at all, because that's one of the things that they've been doing really well with this season is their tire wear. So we just basically have to make sure that the upgrades don't take away from their exceptional tire wear that they've had this season. So yeah, pretty excited to see what happens with Ferrari. And let's see. Another thing that we are going to look out for here is both Aston Martin and Mercedes. They're also bringing upgrade packages to Imola. From what I've read, it doesn't seem like Toto is very optimistic about their upgrades that they're bringing, but he hasn't been that optimistic all season, so we'll see what happens with that. And Aston Martin's upgrades, they don't have the best upgrade track record. If you remember back to last year when they brought upgrades, they didn't work out too well, and they actually fell back down the order, which is obviously the opposite of what you want to happen. So hopefully Aston Martin has their upgrade package correct this time, and it will vault them back up the order. As an Alonso fan, I do like to see him compete for podiums again. I thought it was awesome last year when he was doing that. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the upgrade package for both of those teams, and if they can fight some of the top three teams currently. So that'll be interesting to see. There are a few track upgrades this weekend as well. They haven't changed the layout of the track at all, but they have changed some of the runoff areas, and they've gotten rid of some of the extra runoff area that would allow you to go off the track further, and they've replaced that with gravel runoff, which is really nice to see. That way drivers aren't continually pushing that boundary of where the track ends. It's nice to see the gravel. That way there's more consequences for the risks that the drivers will take on these overtaking opportunities. So Red Bull's still the top team to beat, even though McLaren did beat them in Miami at the last race. Red Bull, I still think, holds the edge overall, and they are still bringing upgrades to Imola as well. So we'll see how effective those are, and if it keeps them in front of the pack. They're pretty much strong on every track, so I don't think that they're just going to fall off a cliff. They're still the number one team to beat, and I still think that they're going to perform really well this weekend at Imola here. Ferrari, it's basically their home track, which is really nice. They're going to have a ton of support from the Tifosi. They are bringing big upgrades. We already talked about that. Is it going to be enough to catch McLaren and Red Bull? We'll see. And the nice thing about it being so close to their factory is, as they're going through practice sessions, if they have issues that come about, they can just make a new part or have a new part delivered. It's only an hour away from their factory. What about McLaren this weekend? Well, as I touched on earlier, Oscar also has the upgrade package that Lando had in Miami. So both the cars are fully upgraded now, and it's going to be curious to see if Oscar can keep pace with Lando, and if he can kind of get around his tire struggles that he's been having in terms of keeping the tires going for longer, because that is one of the things that Lando is certainly better at than Oscar at this point in his career. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can keep pace, and if McLaren in general can keep pace with Red Bull again and repeat their performance from last race out in Miami. Mercedes, I already touched on them. They are bringing upgrades, but Toto doesn't seem too optimistic about it. So I'm really not expecting too much of a jump for Mercedes in performance this weekend. So we'll see what happens with that. Aston Martin, again, they are bringing upgrades. Their upgrade history has been shaky, so we'll see what happens. I'm hoping for Alonso to score some points again, but I'm not too optimistic about it at this point, because RB, or Visa Cash App Red Bull, or whatever you want to call them now, they're on the up. They're performing really well lately, and they are coming after Aston Martin because, yeah, since Aston Martin is kind of lacking, they're allowing Visa Cash App Red Bull to catch up. So yeah, we'll see. Both Yuki and Daniel had great times out in Miami last weekend. Yuki scored in both the sprint and in the race, and Daniel had a terrific finish in the sprint. His setup went the wrong way for the race, and yeah, he plummeted down the order. So that wasn't great, but he did have a really good performance in the sprint. So with both drivers performing relatively well right now, especially Yuki with how consistent Yuki's been, I definitely think that they have a chance of snagging some points this weekend. All right, so how about Haas? Haas has actually been performing pretty well this season. Well, Nico has been performing pretty well this season, and Kevin has been doing a hell of a job of defending for him so that Nico can snag some points in some of these Grand Prix. So interesting to see if they can kind of repeat some of their performances so far this year, and if Nico can sneak in and grab a top 10 finish and pick up another point for Haas. I think they can do it. We'll see. We'll see what actually happens. Yeah, I definitely think that Alpine is still at the bottom of the field. They're at the weight that they want to be at now, and they've definitely gained some performance. But their overall speed of the car is still just not there, and I don't see them scoring points in Imola at all. I would be shocked if they did. And really, both of their drivers are looking to exit the team as well, from what I am seeing. So I don't know how motivated they're going to be. Yeah, so tough times at Alpine. And then what about Sauber and Williams? Sauber, yeah, they're definitely towards the bottom of the pack still. They they still have issues with their pit stops. I mean, they weren't as bad last time out, but it wasn't great. Their pit stop times are still not great, and their car is just not quick in general. Yeah, I don't see them doing well at all this weekend. I could be wrong, but yeah, no high hopes for Bottas or Zhou this weekend. And Williams, again, another team that is just really struggling. You know, they had their Microsoft Excel drama earlier this season, where they were, you know, developing the car on Excel and all that stuff. And yeah, it just seems like they're still in that rebuilding phase, really, and they're not able to really put much performance work into the cars, and it shows. Both of the drivers are struggling. Obviously Logan is struggling more than what Alex is, and unfortunately I think Logan is definitely on his way out at Williams. You know, as much as I'd like to see an American driver do well in Formula One, right now he's just not performing well at all. All right, so race predictions. I'm going to give you my top 10, and we're going to start number 10, work our way down, and I'll let you know who I think is going to score points this weekend. And starting at number 10, I think it's going to be Yuki. I think Yuki's going to get another point for RB Visa Cash App Red Bull, and I think he's going to have another really solid weekend. He's been consistent so far this year, and I think it's going to continue here in Imola. Ninth place, I'm going to put Lewis Hamilton in ninth place. Like I said earlier, the Mercedes upgrades are coming. Toto doesn't have much faith in them, apparently. And Lewis just he's not happy with the car at all this year anyways. George has, for the most part, had a better feel with the car and has gotten more performance out of it. So I do think that George is going to be just ahead of him in P8. And I think we're going to look at, for P7, we're going to look at Fernando. Like I said earlier, I'm really hoping that the Aston Martin upgrades are fruitful and they have a positive effect on the car. And we all know that Alonso can extract, you know, every little bit of performance out of a car that's given to him. So I'm going to put him in 7th. So in P6, I'm going to put Sergio Perez quite a bit ahead of Fernando. But yeah, Sergio P6. I'm going to put Charles in P5. With Ferrari's upgrades, you know, I do think that they're going to work pretty well. And I'm going to put Charles in P5 just because I think Carlos really has that drive in him right now to perform and outperform his teammate. I think Carlos is going to be just ahead of him in P4. I think he's going to have a great weekend. I hope he has a great weekend. And now for the podium finishers, I think now that Oscar has the same upgrades as Lando, I'm going to give Oscar a podium finish here. I'm going to put Oscar Piastri in P3. And then in second place, I do think that it's going to be Lando. I think Lando's going to put in another really good performance. I don't think that he's going to best Max at Imola. But Lando does go really well around Imola, so you know, it could be a toss-up for the top two. I think it's going to be really close. But ultimately, I do think still that Max is going to edge him out in this race, and he's going to take the top spot of the podium and win the Imola GP. So those are my predictions for this weekend. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? Kind of where you at on that? And yeah, stay tuned. I'm planning on doing this for each Grand Prix coming up here. I want to do a preview and then a post race, and that will be intermixed between my regular content of the adventure motorcycle stuff with the Aprilia here. It's going to be kind of mixed in with that stuff, so I'm still doing that. I just wanted to incorporate some F1 stuff because I have been a fan for a really long time, and I just like talking about it, and I think it'd be fun to do some kind of reviews and stuff like that. I'm just riding around and talking with you guys. So yeah, let me know what you think. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.